Something for everyone this time around. I want to talk to you about the ideal team structure for Google Ads management. And honestly, this is really, in my opinion, probably applicable to most media management agencies. But we'll talk Google Ads specifically. And the reason I say it's for everyone is because if you're interested in a career in Google Ads, this will show you where you fit in terms of interest, proficiency. If you're interested if you're running an agency yourself and you want to know how we're structured, I'm giving the formal way basically. And this is hard fought knowledge, by the way, because we've done it all the other ways, all the wrong ways first before we found the right way. And then if you're shopping, so let's say that you're a company and you're looking to hire an internal resource, you're building your marketing department, you're hiring a freelancer, you're hiring an agency, I'll show you the way that I think things should be structured, and you can figure out how you want to structure things yourself, where the concessions are, where the margin is, etc. So in order to do that, let me show you my handy dandy graphic. Bam, look at that. This is the client, and then this is the team. So here at Solutions 8, every client is assigned a dedicated client manager, specialist, strategist. The client manager is the direct point of contact. So the client manager is managing the client, as the title denotes. But here's the way to think about this, and this is really important. The client manager, when speaking to the client, is protecting the specialist. The client manager, when speaking to the specialist, is protecting the client, advocating on the client's behalf, making sure the client's goals are being met, bringing up things that maybe the specialist didn't think about. So it's kind of like a dual double agent. The client manager is a luxury. Most agencies connect the client with the specialist, and that's okay. Especially, so if let's say you're shopping for an agency and you can't afford Solutions 8, or you want to go to an agency that does all the things, it's okay if the agency connects you with the specialist, but what I would tell you is you're going to have to offer some grace in terms of communication. One, when a specialist is the direct point of contact, it's really hard to do the work and manage the work as one resource, one person. Now, a lot of agencies turn this into one role. I think that's a catastrophic error, and I know that because I did it myself. When we were a full funnel agency, meaning we Solutions 8 way back in the day, we were doing web and software and SEO and content and video and PPC and if you wanted Google Ads, you just got introduced to Katie, and God bless Katie, she was brilliant. One of my favorite people in the whole wide world. She moved on to a career in marketing automation actually, but for a long time she was our Google Ads person. She was the client manager, the specialist, and the strategist. And that was a flawed model, because no matter how smart Katie was, and she was absolutely freaking genius, it's an impossible job for one person to do. So if you don't have the resources to build a team of 3, you can build a team of 2. You're going to need a strategist and a specialist. And now the specialist will double as the client manager, but remember that it's really difficult to be the person that's executing on the work and then also managing and explaining the work all at the same time. So if you're the client in this situation, you're going to need to have a little grace. If you're the agency and or the freelancer in the situation, it's really important that you don't skimp on the strategist role. And you don't necessarily have to call it a strategist. It doesn't have to be hierarchical structure. It can be peer based, but you can't be the smartest and the dumbest person in the room. So what I like seeing is the strategist makes sure that we're driving towards a goal, we're keeping up with the best practices, reviews, kind of the trend lines, let's say, but also spot checks the specialist's work. The specialist is in charge of the day-to-day button pushing, which makes it, when I say it that way, it almost comes across as a pejorative. I don't mean it that at all. Like it's a really important role, obviously, and task. And so they're doing our 3-day check-in, 7-day check-in, monthly check-in, monitoring search terms, negative keywords, competitive analysis, the website, conversion rates, like all the specialist is the one that's knee-deep in the campaigns. But the specialist needs to have someone to interface with, and I think that person is the strategist. So the primary role obviously is the account specialist. This is what every agency has. If you're building a team, this is the easier of the 3 to manage and to hire, because it's the most linear role, and it's the one that you can actually, what would you say, like if you're building the standard operating procedure for task management, for instance, the specialist has the most tangible tasks. And so if you're looking to hire for that role, great. But you need someone that's going to be able to oversee and manage the specialist's work. Now, if the strategist is more of a CMO or a director of marketing, that's okay. That's okay. They need to understand Google Ads enough to inspect what they expect. So you can't just go, poke and prod at a specialist and say, more ROAS, yeah. They have to be able to, because here's the thing is if the specialist has a blind spot or has made a mistake or isn't seeing the forest through the trees, let's say, there's more opportunity, you need someone who knows Google Ads enough to ask the right questions in order to find that. And so that would be your account strategist. And the account strategist can be a mildly more diluted role. Not diluted. You know what I'm saying? The client manager is the luxury. And this is a luxury that you get working with a larger agency. I think the client management role is wildly important for my agents. So client, people, earmuffs, whatever, you're done. You know how a team is structured. For my agencies, this is so worth investing in. Clients are hard, and they ask questions. They ask the same questions over and over again, or they'll ask questions that are, or here's the other thing too, is they'll make requests and or issue mandates that aren't in their best interest. And oftentimes, because the specialist is in a position where they're just trying to check things off, like they want to check the box, they want to get things off their plate, they want to complete their task list, they say yes where they shouldn't say yes. Or they say no where they shouldn't say no. The client might say, hey, is there an expansion opportunity here? And the specialist is like, no, I've already done all the things. And a client manager would be able to look at it and say like, oh, okay, well, maybe there are new products, maybe there's a new region, maybe there's a new competitor. There's things outside of what we're just looking at. So by nature, the caricature of the specialist is very myopic in view and scope. The client manager allows for them to be protected and to continue to function in a way that doesn't stress them out. That's the other thing too, is if you connect specialists with clients, you will see your churn increase. Bet money, guaranteed. It's a stressful thing to have to do, to have to accomplish the work and then explain what you're doing without the benefit of an advocate, of a proxy. So your client manager is advocating for the client when they're talking to the specialist, but they're also advocating for the specialist when they're talking for the client. Hey, we need more time. We need more time. If you're the specialist and you're the one, no matter what happens, hey, we've sold this properly, we manage expectations properly, we let the client know this is going to take however long, 90 days, and still and this is human nature, by the way, I'm not bashing anybody, but 2 weeks into it, the client's like, all right, I need to see ROA, I need to see ROAS. If you're the one that's responsible for the work, it's so much harder to stand up for yourself than it is to stand up for somebody else, which is also human nature. So the client manager can say, hey, remember we discussed a 90-day timeline, we're seeing a ramp, these are the good things. When you're one step removed, that disassociation really empowers you. It also, by the way, it's helpful when the client's mad. So like, let's say that you screw something up or something's gone wrong or there's something to be looked at and the client goes, hey, I'm really upset about this. And now the client manager goes, oh, I'm so sorry, and can be reasonably and feasibly on the client's team. Everything you're saying makes perfect sense. I'd be upset too. Let me go talk to the team and see what's going on. So you've kind of created like this neutral Switzerland role that has the luxury of always being on the client's side when it's reasonable and necessary. And then the client can say, hey, something happened here and they're really upset. I understand why they're upset. Can you explain what's going on? As opposed to someone who's going to instantly be on the defensive. And now the receiving party of this information is a person that's going to be not necessarily incentivized to respond with truth or responsibility or grace. So this, as you scale and as you grow as an agency, this is a role that's really worth investing in. They don't need to know Google Ads well enough to run it day to day. They need to know well enough to speak to it strategically. And then what's really interesting about that is your strategists can come from your specialist department or your client management department. We have 5 strategists, including John Moran. Of the 4, aside from John, only 1 came from the client management department. So that's not to say client managers can't be strategists. They absolutely can, but they don't always have the inner, the day-to-day workings of Google Ads, which can inhibit their ascension to the strategy team if they don't want to dive deep into the nuts and bolts. And I'm sure I just offended my entire CM team because a lot of them are knee deep in Google Ads all day every day. So maybe I shouldn't have said that, but it'll stand, and I'll beg forgiveness. This is the way that I think these teams should be structured. This is 3 times as many resources as a lot of ad agencies give their clients. A lot of ad agencies try to bundle all of this into one person and then just say, hey, here you go. Meet Pinocchio, and then the whole wide world is playing Geppetto on poor Pinocchio's strings, and I just think it's doomed to fail. The specialist needs somebody to oversee their work, but also just to bounce ideas off of. And sometimes that's really helpful to have with the client manager and the specialist too. So this is what I think the ideal team structure looks like instead of a media buying agency. I'd love to know if anybody has any strong disagreements or other opinions or alternatives that have worked well for you. I realize if you're running a small agency, this isn't accessible to you yet. That's okay. That's okay. Maybe CEO, partner, whatever, is the strategist and is overseeing the work, and the specialist is maybe you're outsourcing this or it's freelance, and then you bring in a client manager, or you actually have this in-house and you're doubling as the client manager, whatever. The way to approach it before you can afford all these resources is to still approach it as though somebody's wearing different hats. Separate your onboarding, your client management, your communication, your project management tools, separate those things so that when you are ready, you can bring in somebody to that role, and it's an easy role to fill. Like, they can kind of see like, oh, okay, this is where I live, as opposed to now, oh gosh, I have to go unscramble the scrambled eggs, because that's it's near impossible to do. I hope this is helpful. Shoot a video every day. I'll see you tomorrow.
Wait, before you go, I'm constantly looking for amazing people to come join our team. So if you're passionate about Google Ads and you're passionate about customer success, please go to solate.com/apply, and we'd love to see you as a part of the Solutions 8 team. Also, if you like this video, give us a thumbs up. It lets the YouTube algorithm know that we actually know what we're doing. And don't forget to subscribe. We shoot a video every single day, and I don't want you to miss out on any of it. Lastly, if you have questions, comments, concerns, confessions, or you just hate my face and my voice, go ahead and hit us up in the comments. We get very little human interaction, and even the heckling is something that I kind of get a kick out of. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being subscribers if you're a subscriber. Don't forget to apply if you're interested in working at Solutions 8. Otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow.